It's time for probably our most popular segment here on the show. It's Pushing Buttons with our friend Craig Button, our TSN Director of Scouting. Talking about that Vancouver victory in Nashville. Quinn Hughes, 20 multi-point games on the season. That leads all defensemen. In fact, Quinn Hughes now, Craig, has more points than Cale Makar despite playing in 6 fewer games than Cale Makar. So he's looking like he's on track, Quinn Hughes is, for another Norris Trophy. But more than that, how impressive has this season been to you, considering all the distractions that this team has been facing?
Yeah, I think when you take it in its entirety, Jay, just as you point out, the drama that surrounded the Vancouver Canucks, they haven't played at the level that they played at last year. Quinn Hughes has been simply brilliant. I would suggest that Quinn Hughes has been better this year than he was last year when he won the Norris Trophy. Listen, I think Quinn Hughes and Zach Werenski are right there, the 2 players at the top of the Norris Trophy ballot list, and I think they should be right in the Hart Trophy voting. They've been that good for their teams. What Quinn Hughes is able to do is dictate the game. He's able to take control of the game in different ways. We see him do it by scoring 2 goals in a previous game. We see him in this game set up goals. But we see those on the highlights. We see the brilliant skating. But Quinn Hughes is a dyed-in-the-wool competitor. He digs in defensively. He gets the puck out of the defensive zone. He gets it into the offensive zone. He gets it into the hands of their offensive players. And when you think about somebody that commands the game, that controls the game, that's Quinn Hughes. And his impact has been significant. His influence has been great. And I question that the question that I would have for everybody, try to imagine the Vancouver Canucks without Quinn Hughes. It would not be pretty.
Obviously, JT Miller is getting tired of being asked about the Elias Pettersson situation. Jim Rutherford spoke to the Globe and Mail this week about it. Seemed to almost be lowering fans' expectations about a possible return for one of these players. I mean, do you get the sense that Rutherford is just on the verge of pulling the trigger here, Craig, or do you think he might even wait until after the Four Nations face-off? What do you think is his plan here for the Canucks?
Well, I think that we admire Jim Rutherford for being so forthright, for being candid about the situation, acknowledging it. And whether people understood what's gone on, Jim said, here's where we're at. Both players have worked hard to try to see if we could come up with a solution. He said he doesn't see it, that it can be tenable going forward. Now, that being said, keep in mind, JT Miller has a full no-move clause. JT Miller controls the situation to a great extent. So when Jim Rutherford starts to talk about, we may have to take less for JT Miller, it may be a situation where he's looking at, okay, what can we do to make sure we correct and deal with the situation? And knowing that JT has a full no-move clause, he says, hey, listen, the return may be what the return is, and we just have to deal with that. In the case of Elias Pettersson, you're looking at somebody that's going to have a full no-move clause on July 1st. But the bigger problem is you got a player making $11.6 million on an annual value, and now you're looking at somebody that's not even performing anywhere close to that. So when Jim Rutherford's looking around along with Patrick Allvin, they're probably seeing, okay, JT Miller, he controls where he wants to go, and what teams are really interested in Elias Pettersson at that number and where he's performing at. So they're in a real significant, I wouldn't call it a bind, but this is the reality of their situation. Now, that being said, I think that Jim Rutherford laid it out. He said, listen, we might make a move before the trade deadline. We might have to wait till after. I think that you look at what your options are, you consider what is best for the team. You got to keep that always in mind, and then you act. Post-trade deadline, after the playoffs when teams are disappointed, I think the market opens up significantly. Teams are way more willing to look at changes. Cap room opens up, and that may be the best time for the Vancouver Canucks to make a deal. And the fact that Jim Rutherford said, we have to put the team back in a contending scenario, I think that speaks to him being ready to be more patient rather than being quick to make a trade.
All right, let's talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs, who fall 3-1 to the Minnesota Wild on Wednesday. Joseph Woll hasn't been quite as sharp in 2025, Craig. An .899 save percentage over his last 10 games. What did you notice specifically about Woll on Wednesday night that might be contributing to some of his issues?
Yeah, and it's not a big thing, but they're little things that, take you a little bit off that real high-level performance that we saw from Joseph Woll. He looks just a little uncertain of himself. And in this game versus the Minnesota Wild, on the first goal, you see where he's on the goal line. He's on his knees. He's kind of looking, but he doesn't get off the goal line. Earlier in the season, Joseph Woll was reading that play up in position. You can see where, the puck came quicker than I wanted. Here he is here, he's upright. You're going to see a better view from behind where you can see where he's looking and trying to find it, but his feet are kind of busy, and he's not in that position. I mean, goaltenders are taught, and they have the technique to try to deal with a deflection. Yeah, that goes off of Austin Matthews' stick and down, but because his feet are busy and he's not really in a good posture and a good stance, now that puck slips past him. So I just see a little bit more uncertainty in his game. I thought as the game went on, Jay, that he was really good. He got better. But these are things where you're just a little bit off in your game. And certainly only giving up 2 goals isn't a big issue. But Joseph Woll right now, trying to find that form where he was right at a top level of performance.
And the Leafs have now lost 3 straight, Craig. Everyone's talking about their lack of scoring. Is that simply it? They're just not putting the puck in the net? They're not winning games? Or are you seeing more over the course of this 3-game slide?
I think sometimes we just have to recognize that it's as simple as not putting the puck in the net. They've been really good at generating chances. They've been really good at getting opportunities. Even in this game, they rang some off the crossbar. Yes, Gustafsson made some really good saves. But all in all, I think that the process for the Toronto Maple Leafs over this last stretch of games has been positive. Now you have players that might be getting those chances, not named Nylander, not named Marner, not named Matthews, that are getting those chances and can't finish on them. But with the imminent return of John Tavares and Matthew Nyes, you would expect that now they'll get those chances and they'll be able to finish a little bit better. But I would be more concerned if I saw some lapses in their process and the way they're trying to generate chances. I don't see that, Jay. I see them just kind of in this area right now where it is as simple as them just not being able to get the puck between the goal posts and below the crossbar across the goal line.
All right, well, we'll see if their luck changes as they head out west on the road for a 4-game road trip before the Four Nations face-off. This has been another exciting edition of Pushing Buttons.